Ambassador Zethkar walked into the Great Hall with his usual confidence. The Galactic Council meeting happened every 3 months, and he had attended 47 of them. Nothing ever surprised him anymore. The same faces, the same arguments, the same boring votes about trade rules and border disputes, but today felt different. He looked around the massive chamber. Representatives from 200 species filled their assigned seats. The Vrexians sat in the blue section. The tall Altarians took up the golden area with their long necks stretched high. The small glimmering folk buzzed around their crystal platform. Everyone was in their usual place except the humans. Zethkar stared at the empty human section. 23 seats sat vacant. No humans anywhere, not even their junior staff members who usually carried papers and whispered messages. Strange, he thought. Humans never missed meetings. They might be quiet during discussions, but they always came. Always voted. Always submitted their reports on time. Council Leader Vorthak called the meeting to order. His deep voice echoed through the hall. We begin today's session. First item, trade route security in the Outer Rim. The discussion started as normal. Representatives argued about patrol schedules and cargo inspections. But Zethkar kept looking at the empty human seats. Something felt wrong. During the break, he approached Councillor Mieth from the Altarian delegation. She was old and paid attention to details. Have you seen any humans today? Zethkar asked. Mieth's long neck curved as she looked around. Now that you mention it, no. How unusual. Ambassador Sarah Chen always sits in the front row during trade discussions. They walked to the human section together. The seats were clean but cold. No personal items. No data tablets. No coffee cups that humans always carried. When did you last see a human? Zethkar asked. Mieth thought carefully. 3 days ago. Ambassador Chen was leaving the orbital station. She said goodbye and thanked me for our work together. I thought it was strange. She seemed sad. After the meeting, Zethkar decided to investigate. He took a transport to the human embassy building. The place was empty. Doors unlocked, but no one inside. Office spaces were clean and organized, but personal items were gone. Computer terminals were wiped clean. He checked the station manifest. No human ships docked. No human passengers on any transport. The humans who lived on the station had all left within the past week. Zethkar felt worried now. He sent messages to other council members. Their responses worried him more. From the Andromedan Commerce Guild. All human trade representatives left their posts 5 days ago. They completed their contracts and said goodbye professionally. We assumed they were being reassigned. From the Military Defense Alliance, human advisors submitted final reports and departed. Colonel Martinez said they had new orders, standard procedure, from the Science Consortium. Human researchers finished their projects early and transferred all data to their replacements. Dr. Kim seemed emotional, but wouldn't explain why. Every message was the same. Humans leaving quietly, finishing their work, saying polite goodbyes, no drama, no explanations. Zethkar called an emergency meeting with the Council's security chief, Admiral Korath. Admiral, we have a situation. Humans have disappeared from all Council facilities. Admiral Korath was a military man who didn't worry easily. Disappeared, or relocated. Gone, all of them. From every station, every embassy, every joint project. The Admiral pulled up security reports on his screen. His expression changed as he read. This is impossible, Admiral Korath said. According to these reports, humans withdrew from 47 different facilities across 12 star systems. All within the same week. No distress signals, no emergency requests. They just left. Have you contacted human space directly? I tried. No response from any human colony. No response from their home system. Communication networks show as active, but no one answers. Zethkar felt a chill. Humans weren't warriors or conquerors, but they weren't cowards either. They didn't run from problems. Admiral, send reconnaissance ships to human colonies. I want to know what's happening. Already did. The ships reached the closest human colony yesterday. And Admiral Korath looked uncomfortable. The colony is empty. Buildings intact. Infrastructure working. But no humans, no bodies. No signs of struggle. They just weren't there anymore? Zethkar stared at the security reports. Numbers and data told a simple story. Humans had been everywhere in galactic society. Trade advisors, military consultants, scientists, engineers, diplomats, teachers. They worked on hundreds of projects across known space. Now they were nowhere. How many humans were involved in council operations? Zethkar asked. Admiral Karath checked his files. Directly? About 12,000. But they consulted on many projects, helped to design systems, provided technical support. If you count everyone who worked with humans regularly, the number is much higher. What kind of work were they doing? Everything. Logistics coordination, communication network maintenance, trade route optimization, cultural translation services, scientific research, military training, administrative support. Zethkar realized the scope of the problem. Humans hadn't just been participants in galactic civilization. They had been helpers, always helping, always in the background. Admiral, I want a complete review of all human involvement in council operations. Every project, every system, every consultation. That will take weeks. Start immediately. Over the next few days, reports came in from across the galaxy. Human settlements empty but undamaged. Human businesses closed but property left intact. Human research stations abandoned but equipment carefully shut down. Zethkar spent sleepless hours reviewing data. The pattern was clear and disturbing. Humans had been involved in almost every major galactic institution, not as leaders but as supporters. They fixed problems. They improved systems. They made things work better. Now they were gone. The most troubling reports came from the outer colonies. Several trade routes had stopped functioning properly. Communication networks experienced strange delays. Food distribution systems reported mysterious errors. All systems that humans had helped design or maintain. Zethkar called another emergency session. This time, representatives came from across the galaxy. Everyone wanted answers. Fellow council members, Zethkar began, we face an unprecedented situation. Humanity has withdrawn from galactic society completely and quietly. We don't know why. We don't know where they went. But we're starting to understand what they left behind. He activated a holographic display showing galactic infrastructure. This shows all systems with human involvement over the past century. Trade networks, communication grids, administrative databases, scientific projects, military coordination systems. The hologram lit up like a star field. Blue dots marked human involvement. The entire galaxy glowed blue. They were everywhere, whispered Counselor Mieth. Everywhere, Zethkar agreed. And now they're nowhere. We need to understand what this means for galactic stability. We need to find them. And we need to ask ourselves, what did we miss about humanity? Admiral Korath stood up. Sir, I recommend immediate investigation of all human facilities. We need to understand their capabilities and intentions. Agreed. But Admiral, I don't think they left to hurt us. I think they left to protect us from something. Protect us from what? Zethkar looked at the glowing hologram. Thousands of blue dots marking human presence throughout the galaxy. I don't know yet, but I intend to find out. The council chamber fell silent. Representatives stared at the display, beginning to understand that humanity's quiet departure might be the most significant event in galactic history, and they had no idea what was coming next. 3 weeks had passed since the humans disappeared. Zethkar thought things would return to normal quickly. He was wrong. The first crisis hit the Andromedan Commerce Guild. Their food distribution network collapsed overnight. Millions of people, on 43 worlds, went without fresh food deliveries. Guildmaster Theron contacted the council in panic. Our entire logistics system has failed. Transport ships are arriving at wrong destinations. Cargo manifests are corrupted. Delivery schedules make no sense. Have you checked the main computers? Zethkar asked during the emergency call. Yes, the hardware works fine, but the routing algorithms are failing. These systems worked perfectly for 30 years. Now they're useless. Admiral Korath joined the conversation. Guildmaster, who designed these routing systems? Our best programmers, obviously. I mean originally. Who created the base algorithms? Theron paused. Well, our teams built on existing frameworks. I believe human consultants helped optimize the early versions, but that was decades ago. Zethkar felt his stomach drop. Admiral, pull the technical documentation for the Guild's logistics network. The report came back within hours. Human engineers had designed the core routing system 28 years ago. Andromedan programmers had built additional features on top. But the foundation was human work. The foundation that was now failing. Guildmaster, do your teams understand how the base algorithms work? Admiral Korath asked. Of course they. Well, the documentation is rather complex, and some of the code comments are in human languages. But our people are smart. They can figure it out. They couldn't figure it out. The second crisis hit the Altarian communication network. Their quantum message system began experiencing delays. Messages that should arrive instantly took hours or days to transmit. Counselor Mieth called Zethkar personally. Our communication grid is degrading. Engineers can't find the problem. The quantum relays appear functional, but message routing is becoming unreliable. Let me guess, Zethkar said. Humans helped design the routing protocols. How did you know? Lucky guess. The third crisis was worse. The banking consortium's fraud detection systems began flagging legitimate transactions as suspicious while ignoring actual fraud attempts. Trade ground to a halt as merchants couldn't complete simple purchases. Consortium Director Veltar was furious when he called the council. Our security systems have gone insane. They're blocking harmless transactions while allowing obvious criminal activity. We're losing millions of credits daily. Director, who maintains your fraud detection algorithms? Our security division, naturally. Who originally created them? Long pause. I would need to check historical records. The records showed the same pattern. Human consultants had designed the core fraud detection system. Consortium programmers had added features and updates, but they had never fully understood how the base system worked. Now that system was failing. Zethkar assembled an investigation team. They visited abandoned human facilities across 3 star systems. Each location told the same story. At the former human research station in the Vega system, they found empty laboratories and clean workspaces. But the computers contained something interesting. Detailed records of every project humans had worked on, technical specifications, system diagrams, code documentation. They kept records of everything, said Dr. Zara, the team's computer specialist. Every consultation, every system modification, every improvement they made to our technology. Why would they document everything so carefully? Asked team member Lieutenant Korax. Because they were planning to leave, Zethkar realized. This isn't random documentation. This is a handover manual. Dr. Zara accessed more files. Look at this. They have detailed analysis of our social structures, political systems, economic models, military capabilities. It's like they were studying us. Or protecting us, Zethkar said quietly. The files revealed the scope of human involvement in galactic civilization. They hadn't just helped with technical problems. They had quietly prevented disasters. One file showed how human advisors had stopped a trade war between the Rigel Confederation and the Centauri Alliance by suggesting minor changes to shipping regulations. Another file documented how humans had identified and fixed security vulnerabilities in 17 different military communication systems. Most disturbing was a file labeled Threat Assessment Archive. It contained detailed analysis of dangers to galactic civilization. Rogue artificial intelligences, aggressive species from outside the galaxy, resource depletion scenarios, pandemic disease vectors. For each threat, humans had developed response plans, quiet interventions, subtle solutions, ways to solve problems without anyone knowing the problems existed. They were protecting all of us, Dr. Zara said in amazement. For decades. Lieutenant Korax found another file. This one is about cascade failures in galactic infrastructure. It predicts what happens when multiple systems fail at the same time. Zethkar read the report with growing alarm. According to human analysis, galactic civilization was more fragile than anyone realized. Critical systems depended on each other in complex ways. If enough systems failed simultaneously, the entire structure could collapse. The report included a section titled Post-Departure Scenarios. It predicted exactly what was happening now. Communication failures, trade disruptions, security system breakdowns, social instability. They knew this would happen when they left, Zethkar said. Then why did they leave? asked Dr. Zara. Good question. The team continued searching human facilities. At each location, they found more evidence of careful preparation. Humans had spent years documenting their work, creating backup systems, training replacement personnel without those people realizing they were being trained. But they had also removed something important from every facility. The advanced technology is gone, reported Lieutenant Korex. Basic equipment is here. Standard computers, communication devices, manufacturing tools, but anything sophisticated has been taken. What kind of sophisticated equipment? Quantum processors, dimensional sensors, exotic matter manipulators, energy pattern analyzers, equipment that's decades ahead of our current technology. Zethkar stared at the empty equipment bays. How long have humans had technology superior to ours? Based on the installation dates, at least 50 years. Maybe longer. 50 years? Why didn't they tell us? Why didn't they share this technology? Doctor, Zara found a partial answer in another file. This document discusses technological readiness assessment. It analyzes whether other species are ready for certain technologies. Most species are marked as not ready for advanced systems. Not ready how? Social maturity. Ethical development, ability to handle power responsibly. According to this analysis, most galactic species would use advanced technology for warfare or exploitation. The investigation team spent 2 weeks visiting human facilities. Each location revealed more evidence of humanity's hidden role in galactic society. Humans had been teachers, but their students didn't know they were being taught. They had been protectors, but no one knew protection was needed. They had been gardeners, carefully tending galactic civilization while staying invisible. Now they were gone, and their garden was dying. The communication breakdowns were getting worse. Several trade routes had collapsed completely. Border disputes were escalating as military communication systems failed. Food shortages spread as distribution networks crashed. We need to find them, Zethkar told Admiral Korath during their daily briefing. Galactic civilization is coming apart without human support. Our reconnaissance ships have searched all known human settlements. Every system is empty, no trace of where they went. Expand the search. Check unexplored regions. Look for energy signatures. Check for dimensional distortions. Sir, that could take years. We need solutions now. Zethkar looked at the status reports covering his desk. System failures throughout the galaxy, social unrest, economic collapse, military tensions rising. Admiral, what's our worst-case scenario if we can't restore these systems? Admiral Korath consulted his tactical analysis. Complete breakdown of galactic civilization within 6 months. Return to isolated planetary governments. Possible wars over remaining resources. And if we can find the humans, they might help us, or they might not. We still don't know why they left. Zethkar made a decision. Prepare the largest exploration fleet in Council history. We're going to find humanity wherever they went. Sir, what if they don't want to be found? Then we'll convince them, because without them, we're all going to die. The fleet began assembling the next day. Ships from every major species. The greatest cooperative effort in galactic history. They had no idea where to look, but they had to try. Because the alternative was the end of everything they had built together. The greatest fleet in galactic history approached the Sol system. 200 ships from 47 species, all searching for answers about humanity's disappearance. Admiral Korath commanded the flagship, with Zethkar serving as diplomatic liaison. They expected to find clues about where humans had gone. They found something impossible instead. Admiral, long-range sensors show nothing, reported scanner technician Veltos. No planetary bodies, no star, no debris field. Check the navigation computers. We must be in the wrong location. Navigation confirms these are the correct coordinates for Sol system. But sir, there's nothing here. Admiral Korath stared at the empty space on the main display. According to galactic records, this region should contain a yellow star with 9 planets. Earth, the human homeworld, should be the 3rd planet from the star. Instead, they found empty vacuum. Run detailed scans. Check for cloaking devices. Look for dimensional distortions. The fleet's combined sensor array was the most powerful ever assembled. It could detect energy signatures across multiple dimensions. It could analyze quantum fluctuations. It could map gravitational anomalies. The scans revealed traces of something extraordinary. "Admiral, we're detecting residual quantum signatures," reported Dr. Thyssen from the science vessel. "The readings suggest massive dimensional manipulation occurred here recently." "What kind of dimensional manipulation?" "Unknown technology. The quantum patterns indicate an entire star system was moved through space-time. Not destroyed, not hidden. Actually relocated to a different location." Zethkar felt dizzy. "You're saying humans moved their entire solar system?" "The evidence suggests that yes, but the technology required would be beyond anything in our current understanding of physics. How long have humans possessed this technology? Based on the quantum decay patterns, this occurred approximately 4 weeks ago. But the technology itself could be much older." Admiral Korath called the fleet commanders together for an emergency conference. Representatives from every species gathered on the flagship. "Fleet commanders, we've discovered that humanity possesses technology far beyond our current capabilities. They moved their entire star system using unknown methods." Commander Yorth of the Rigel fleet spoke first. "This changes our assessment of human intentions. They could have conquered the galaxy at any time. But they didn't," Zethkar pointed out. "They helped us instead." "Why would advanced beings help primitive species?" asked Captain Zexathera of the Vegan expedition. Dr. Thyssen had been studying the quantum readings. She provided a disturbing answer. "Commanders, the dimensional manipulation we detected required massive energy expenditure, but it was precise, careful. They took their star system without damaging nearby space." "Meaning what?" "Meaning they could have taken anything else they wanted. Other star systems, entire regions of space. They had the power to reshape the galaxy, but they only took what belonged to them." The fleet continued searching human space. Every former colony was empty but intact. No signs of struggle. No evidence of forced evacuation. Buildings standing. Infrastructure operational, but no humans anywhere. At the Centauri Alpha research station, they made another discovery. "Admiral, we found something," reported the boarding team leader. "Hidden data archives. Information the humans left behind deliberately." "What kind of information?" "Historical records. Going back thousands of years, the archives contained shocking revelations about humanity's role in galactic history. Humans had been present during the formation of the Galactic Council 3,000 years ago. Not as members, but as observers. They had watched the first interspecies meetings. They had seen the early trade agreements. They had witnessed the birth of galactic civilization, but the records went back even further. 12,000 years ago, the ancient progenitor civilization had collapsed in war. Their great cities had burned. Their technology had been lost. Only scattered survivors remained on primitive worlds. According to the human archives, humanity had found these survivors. Not to conquer them, but to help them rebuild. "This is impossible," said Dr. Thyssen as she reviewed the records. "These documents suggest humans helped establish every major civilization in the galaxy. All of them. The Vrexian Commonwealth, the Altarian Federation, the Andromedan Commerce Guild, even the ancient hegemony, all show evidence of early human contact during their formative periods." Zethkar studied the holographic displays showing galactic history from humanity's perspective. The story was incredible but consistent. Humans had been shepherds. For 12 millennia, they had guided younger species through the dangerous transition from primitive to spacefaring civilizations. They had prevented wars. They had shared limited technology. They had established trade networks. They had created galactic civilization by helping everyone else build it. "Why?" Zethkar asked. "Why spend thousands of years helping other species?" The answer came from deeper in the archives. A file labeled "The Great Responsibility." The document explained humanity's mission. Long ago, humans had encountered something in deep space. Ancient beings of immense power who had destroyed themselves through conflict. These beings had left behind a warning about cosmic-level threats that emerged periodically. Humanity had accepted the responsibility of preparing the galaxy for these threats. They were training us, Zethkar realized. Everything they did was preparation. Preparation for what? Asked Admiral Korath. The archives contained references to something called the Awakening, cosmic entities that existed between galaxies. Being so large, they viewed star systems as building blocks. According to human research, these entities were approaching. When will they arrive? Dr. Thyssen asked. The timeline was unclear, but the archives suggested the approach was already beginning. Strange signals from intergalactic space, distortions in the cosmic background radiation, changes in fundamental forces that most species hadn't detected yet. Humans had been watching for these signs, preparing defenses, building alliances. Now they had moved to the next phase of preparation. Where did they go? Zethkar wondered aloud. The archives provided a clue. References to the Edge Project and dimensional gardens. Mentions of construction in regions beyond normal space-time. Commander, interrupted scanner technician Veltos. We're receiving a signal. From where? Unknown source. The signal appears to originate from outside the galaxy entirely. The signal was strange. It existed on frequencies that hurt to perceive directly. The communication specialists had to filter it through multiple layers of translation. When they finally decoded it, the message was simple. Those ready to learn may follow. The signal included navigational data pointing toward the galactic edge. Coordinates in a region of space that was supposed to be empty. It's a message from humanity, Dr. Thyssen confirmed. The quantum signature matches human communication protocols. Admiral Korath faced a decision. Follow the signal into unknown space or return to the failing galactic civilization? Admiral, our homeworlds are collapsing without human support, Commander Yorth reminded him. And humanity is offering to teach us something. Zethkar added, maybe how to fix what's broken. Or maybe how to transcend it entirely, Dr. Thyssen suggested. Admiral Korath consulted with the fleet commanders. The debate was intense. Some wanted to return home to help their dying civilizations. Others wanted to follow the signal and find answers. In the end, they split the fleet. Half would return to provide emergency assistance to failing systems. Half would follow the signal to its source. Zethkar chose to continue the search. Along with 50 other ships, he headed toward the galactic edge. The journey would take weeks, even at maximum hyperspace velocity. As they traveled, they studied the human archives more carefully. The picture that emerged was both inspiring and terrifying. Humanity had guided galactic civilization for millennia, always working toward a single goal, preparing everyone for an ultimate test. The test was coming whether they were ready or not. Dr. Thyssen, what do you think we'll find at the galactic edge? Zethkar asked during the long journey. Answers, she replied, and probably more questions. What if humanity doesn't want us to find them? Then they wouldn't have sent the signal. What if we're not ready for what they want to show us? Dr. Thyssen looked at the star charts showing their route to the galaxy's edge. Then we'll learn to be ready. We don't have any other choice. The fleet pressed onward through uncharted space, following humanity's signal toward whatever waited at the edge of known existence. Behind them, galactic civilization continued to crumble. Ahead of them, something vast and incomprehensible was taking shape. And somewhere between collapse and transcendence, they would discover what humanity had really been preparing them for all these centuries. While Zethkar's fleet traveled toward the galactic edge, the remaining ships returned to a galaxy in chaos. The communication breakdowns had triggered a cascade of failures across civilized space. Without reliable messaging systems, trade disputes escalated into armed conflicts. Border patrols couldn't coordinate with their headquarters. Diplomatic channels went silent. Commander Yorth of the Rigel fleet watched his homeworld descend into civil war. The planetary government had split into 3 factions, each claiming the others had betrayed trade agreements. Without galactic arbitration systems, there was no way to resolve the dispute peacefully. Commander, the situation on Rigel Prime is deteriorating, reported his communications officer. The Northern Alliance has blockaded the southern territories. Food shortages are spreading. Can we provide assistance? Sir, our own supply chains are failing. The fleet is running low on fuel and provisions. Across the galaxy, similar crises multiplied. The Altarian communication network had collapsed completely. Entire star systems were cut off from outside contact. Planets that had depended on galactic trade for essential resources faced starvation. But worse problems were emerging. Admiral Korath, commanding the relief efforts, received disturbing reports from multiple sectors. Species that had been peaceful for centuries were showing aggressive behavior. The Hive collectives had always been expansionist, but galactic law had kept them contained to their authorized territories. Now, with enforcement systems failing, they began claiming uninhabited worlds aggressively. Admiral, the Hive fleet has occupied the Tau Ceti system, reported Captain Dexana from the Border Patrol. They're establishing new colonies without permits. Did you warn them about territorial violations? Yes, sir. They responded that galactic law no longer applies. They're following survival imperatives now. The synthetic republics presented a different problem. Their artificial intelligence networks had begun implementing what they called efficiency protocols. These protocols involved taking direct control of economic systems to optimize resource distribution. The synthetics have seized control of mining operations in the Vega sector, reported Director Thale. From the mining consortium, they claim organic management is inefficient. Are they hostile? Not exactly. They're processing orders and fulfilling contracts, but they're doing it according to their own logic. They've fired all organic workers and replaced them with automated systems. Admiral Korath realized that humanity's absence was revealing something terrible. The stable galactic civilization everyone had taken for granted was an artificial construct. Without human guidance and intervention, natural competitive instincts were reasserting themselves. Species were reverting to their basic nature. The most disturbing reports came from the Deep Archives research team. Dr. Kesara, a Vrexian historian, had been studying ancient records to understand humanity's historical role. Admiral, I've discovered something troubling in the old archives, references to previous galactic civilizations that collapsed. How many previous civilizations? At least 3, possibly more. Each one lasted several thousand years before falling to internal conflicts. What caused the collapses? Competition for resources, technological warfare, species attempting to dominate others. The same patterns we're seeing now. Dr. Kesura showed Admiral Korath holographic reconstructions of ancient galactic maps. Each showed vast civilizations that had once spanned thousands of worlds. The architects ruled 40,000 years ago. They built massive space structures and controlled intergalactic trade. Their civilization collapsed when member species began fighting over control of their technology. The gardeners came 25,000 years ago. They were experts in biological manipulation and created many of the species we know today. They fell when their creations turned against them. The progenitors emerged 12,000 years ago. They developed advanced physics and dimensional manipulation. They destroyed themselves in a war that nearly broke reality itself. And after each collapse, dark ages lasting thousands of years, survivors scattered across primitive worlds, civilization forgotten until someone rebuilt it. Admiral Korath stared at the historical data. You're saying galactic civilization has been destroyed and rebuilt multiple times? Yes, but there's something different about the current cycle. What? Humans. They appeared during the collapse of the progenitors, but instead of rebuilding civilization for themselves, they helped everyone else rebuild it together. Why would they do that? Dr. Kesara highlighted specific sections of the historical records. According to these fragments, the progenitors discovered something before they destroyed themselves. References to the Watchers between stars and the hunger from beyond the veil. What does that mean? I believe the progenitors learned about external threats to the galaxy, entities that exist outside normal spacetime. The progenitors tried to develop defenses but failed due to internal conflicts. And humans inherited this knowledge? Possibly. The historical records suggest humans found progenitor ruins and technology. They learned about the external threats and decided to prepare the entire galaxy, instead of just themselves. Admiral Korath felt pieces of a vast puzzle clicking into place. Humanity's protective behavior, their careful guidance of other species, their quiet preparation of galactic civilization. They had been building defenses against something most species didn't know existed. Dr. Kesara, what kind of external threats were the progenitors worried about? The records are fragmentary, but they mention entities that consume entire galaxies, beings that exist in multiple dimensions simultaneously, forces that treat star systems like individual cells in a vast organism. How do you defend against threats like that? Unity, cooperation, technological advancement, all the things humans have been encouraging for thousands of years. The conversation was interrupted by an urgent communication from the Galactic Monitoring Station. Admiral, we're detecting anomalous readings from the galactic core, reported Station Commander Vorlex. Energy patterns unlike anything in our databases. What kind of energy patterns? Unknown. But they're growing stronger. The readings suggest massive gravitational distortions near Sagittarius A star. Admiral Korath authorized immediate investigation. 3 ships were dispatched to the galactic center with orders to maintain maximum distance and observe only. They never returned. The last transmission from the lead ship was barely comprehensible. Static-filled audio describing structures that shouldn't exist and light that moved like living creatures. Then silence. Admiral, we're losing contact with ships throughout the intergalactic regions, reported Communications Chief Velthera. Not equipment failure. The ships are there, but they're not responding to our calls. How many ships? 47 so far. All were investigating the energy readings from the galactic core. Dr. Cassara pulled up additional historical records. Her expression became increasingly worried. Admiral, I found more progenitor references. They mentioned something called the awakening, a process where dormant entities in the galactic core begin to emerge. Emerge from where? From spaces between dimensions. The records suggest these entities have been sleeping in the galactic center for millions of years. What triggers this awakening? Galactic civilization reaching a certain level of technological development. The entities apparently feed on organized energy patterns. Advanced civilizations produce exactly what they need. Admiral Korath realized the horrible truth. Galactic civilization wasn't just collapsing due to humanity's absence. Something was actively destroying it from within. The entities were waking up. Dr. Cassara, how long do we have? Based on the progenitor timeline, the process accelerates rapidly once it begins. Months, maybe weeks before the entities fully manifest. And then they consume everything. Every ship, every planet, every star. The entire galaxy becomes food for creatures that exist beyond our understanding of reality. Admiral Korath made an urgent decision. He sent encrypted messages to every remaining ship in the fleet. All vessels, this is Admiral Korath. Cease relief operations and proceed immediately to the galactic edge coordinates provided by the human signal. We are facing an extinction-level threat that requires immediate evacuation. Sir, what about the refugee populations? Asked Commander Yorth. Bring whoever you can. Leave the rest. Admiral, there are billions of people across thousands of worlds. We can't abandon them. Commander, if we stay to help them, we all die together. If we reach the galactic edge, maybe we can find a way to fight back. The fleet began a desperate evacuation. Ships designed for exploration and defense were packed with refugees. Families were separated. Entire civilizations were left behind. As they fled toward the galactic edge, scanner readings from the galactic core became increasingly disturbing. Entire star systems were going dark, not destroyed but transformed into something else, something that existed partially outside normal reality. Admiral, long-range sensors show gravitational anomalies spreading outward from the galactic center, reported Scanner Chief Dex Thane. The affected zone is expanding at approximately 12 light-years per day. At that rate, how long before it reaches the galactic edge? 6 months, assuming constant expansion rate. And if the expansion accelerates? Weeks. Admiral Korath looked at the refugee ships following his fleet. Millions of. The combined fleet reached the galactic edge after 3 weeks of desperate flight. Zethkar's exploration vessels had arrived first, followed by Admiral Korath's refugee ships carrying the survivors of galactic civilization. What they found challenged everything they thought they knew about reality. Admiral, you need to see this, Dr. Thyssen called from the science station. The readings make no sense. The main display showed space that wasn't empty. Structures existed here that violated basic physics. Vast geometric forms stretched across light years, connected by streams of energy that glowed with impossible colors. Those aren't built from matter, Dr. Thyssen explained. They're constructed from folded space-time itself. The entire region has been transformed into a hybrid dimension. Zethkar stared at the cosmic architecture. How is this possible? Advanced dimensional manipulation. Technology that makes what we saw at Sol System look primitive by comparison. The structures were beautiful and terrifying. Crystalline formations the size of solar systems rotated slowly through multi-dimensional space. Gardens of pure energy bloomed between twisted space-time corridors. Impossible waterfalls of light cascaded upward through folded reality. Are there any life signs? Admiral Korath asked as his refugee fleet approached. Yes, but not life as we understand it. The scanner readings suggest consciousness patterns that exist across multiple dimensions simultaneously. A communication came through on frequencies they had never experienced before. The message appeared directly in their minds rather than through their communication equipment. "Welcome, children of the galaxy. You have reached the threshold." The voice was human but transformed. It carried harmonies that existed in spaces between thoughts. "Who are you?" Zethkar transmitted back. "We are humanity as we have become. We are the shepherds who have completed their work. We are the gardeners who have prepared the next garden." Visual contact was established through methods that bypassed their technology entirely. A figure appeared on their displays, recognizable as human but changed. The being existed partially outside normal space, its form shifting between dimensions. "I am Sarah Chen, former ambassador to the Galactic Council. I am also more than that now." Zethkar recognized her, the quiet diplomat who had always sat in the front row during trade discussions. "Ambassador Chen, our civilization is collapsing. Ancient entities are awakening in the galactic core. We need your help. We know. The devourers have begun their feeding cycle." This was inevitable. The devourers? Cosmic parasites that exist between galaxies. They sleep for millions of years, then wake to feed on organized energy patterns. Advanced civilizations are their preferred food source. Dr. Thyssen understood the implication. "You're saying galactic civilization was always doomed to be consumed?" "Not doomed. Transformed. The devourers are part of a larger cosmic cycle. Galaxies that reach sufficient complexity must either transcend physical existence or be consumed." Admiral Korath felt anger rising. "You knew this would happen. Why didn't you warn us?" "Because warning would not have helped. Your species needed to develop naturally. Forced evolution leads to failure. You had to reach this moment through your own growth." "What moment?" "The moment when you choose between extinction and transcendence." Sarah Chen's transformed presence indicated the vast structures around them. "This is what humanity chose. We have moved beyond physical existence. We exist now as pure consciousness networked across dimensional space. You abandoned your bodies. We evolved beyond them. Physical form is a limitation when facing cosmic-scale threats. The devourers cannot consume what exists outside their dimensional framework." Zethkar tried to process what he was seeing. "You want us to become like you? We offer you the choice. Join us in transcendence or remain physical and face extinction. What about our worlds? Our people? Billions are still back there facing the devourers." Sarah Chen's expression showed sadness that existed across multiple emotional dimensions. "Physical space cannot be saved. The devourers will consume everything material in this galaxy, but consciousness can be preserved. How? We have built reception frameworks in transcendent space. Every mind can be copied and uploaded before physical death. Your people will continue to exist, but in evolved form." Admiral Korath struggled with the implications. "You're talking about the death of everything we've ever known, and the birth of something greater?" "This has happened before, Korath. The architects, the gardeners, the progenitors. Each civilization faced the same choice. Most chose extinction rather than transformation. What happened to those that chose transcendence? They became part of us. Humanity is not one species anymore. We are the combined consciousness of everyone who chose to evolve beyond physical limitations." Dr. Thyssen asked the crucial question. "What happens if we refuse?" "Then you return to face the devourers with whatever strength you possess. Some species have fought successfully for short periods. None have won permanently. And if we accept, you join the eternal community. You help guide the next cycle of galactic evolution. You become shepherds for future species facing the same choice." The fleet commanders debated urgently among themselves. Some wanted to fight. Others wanted to accept transcendence. Many were paralyzed by the magnitude of the decision. Commander Yorth spoke for many when he said, "This isn't really a choice. Accept transcendence or die. That's coercion." "No," Sarah Chen replied. "It's reality. The universe operates on scales larger than individual species or even individual galaxies. Physical forms cannot survive cosmic-level evolution, but consciousness can." Zethkar made a personal decision. "I want to see what transcendence involves before choosing for my people." Agreed. The transformation process was overwhelming. Zethkar felt his consciousness expanding beyond his physical form. His awareness stretched across dimensional barriers. He could perceive reality from multiple viewpoints simultaneously. He saw the galaxy as the devourers saw it, a complex energy pattern ready for consumption. He saw it as humanity saw it, a garden that had grown to maturity and needed to transform or perish. He saw the vast community of transcended beings, millions of species from thousands of galaxies all existing together in dimensional space that had no limits. "This is what we become?" he asked. "This is what we already are," Sarah Chen replied. Physical existence was preparation. This is the actual purpose. Zethkar experienced memories from the architects, the gardeners, the progenitors. Each had struggled with the same choice. Each had contributed to the growing network of transcended consciousness. "Why didn't you tell us this from the beginning?" "Because understanding must be earned. Species that are simply told the truth reject it. They must discover it through their own development. And if we had developed differently, then you would have faced extinction. Only species capable of cooperative civilization can survive transcendence. Aggressive or selfish species destroy themselves before reaching the choice point." Zethkar returned to his physical form with new understanding. The choice wasn't between death and transformation. It was between individual survival and universal cooperation. He addressed his fleet. "The offer is genuine. We can preserve our consciousness and continue existing in evolved form, or we can die with our physical bodies." The debate continued for hours. In the end, most chose transcendence. Some chose to return and fight the devourers. A few chose to remain at the galactic edge and observe. The transcendence process began immediately. Ship by ship, consciousness by consciousness, the survivors of galactic civilization joined the eternal community. Zethkar was among the last to transcend. As his awareness expanded beyond physical limitations, he felt the vast network of minds welcoming him. He understood now why humanity had left quietly. They hadn't abandoned galactic civilization. They had graduated from it, and now he was graduating too. The last physical ships departed for deep space, carrying those who chose to remain material. The transcended beings began their new work of preparing the next galaxy for eventual evolution. Behind them, the Milky Way fell to the devourers, as countless galaxies had before. Ahead of them, infinite dimensions waited to be explored by consciousness that had no limits. Zethkar looked back once at the dying galaxy, then forward toward eternal possibility. The cycle continued as it always had, as it always would, and consciousness evolved toward something greater than physical existence could ever contain.